Hello, good evening and welcome to Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. It is coming to you live from our studio here at Desawe Kanda in Accra and also live around the world on 3news.com. Coming out this evening, financial woes of the produce buying company PBC worsens as 5 banks reportedly move to confiscate assets of a mounting indebtedness. Tonight, we assess the situation further. Also coming up, National Disaster Management Organization NADMO races against time to secure temporary accommodation for more than 1,500 victims displaced by Monday night's storm in the East Mamprusi and Boko West districts. And later in the bulletin, hundreds of thousands of Ghanaian students begin WASI tomorrow as the country returns to the regional examination timetable. We have details of all of these and more, plus your comments if you do send them in good time. Do send them to our Facebook page and on our YouTube stream, and we'll be happy to share them with the rest of the world. Before we get into the details, let's bring you a news summaries with Grace Hamwa-Ajiman. Hello, Grace.
Hi, Martin. Let's begin with education, because the government has constituted a committee comprising the Ministry of Education, the Ghana Education Service, and university authorities to address growing concerns about rising hostel accommodation fees across the country. Speaking at the inauguration of governing councils for Jasikan College of Education and the University of Engineering and Agri-Sciences on Tuesday, the Minister of Education, Haruna Idrisu, cautioned that private partnerships in hostel development must not result in exorbitant charges for students. He said there are ongoing public concerns about adjustments to hostel fees and explained that a committee involving the above-mentioned institutions and vice-chancellors of universities will continue consultations aimed at reaching an amicable solution. Away from that, the Ghana Health Service has intensified surveillance at the country's ports of entry following confirmed cases of hantavirus linked to passengers aboard a cruise ship that recently docked in Cape Verde. The heightened alert comes after health authorities confirmed 5 cases of the virus among passengers on the vessel, with 3 deaths recorded so far. Although no case of hantavirus has been detected in Ghana, the Ghana Health Service says it is taking proactive measures to prevent any possible outbreak and ensure the early detection and management of suspected infections. That's it for the summary, Martin.
Thank you very much, Grace. Let's settle for the details now, and we're starting from the issues of the indebtedness that has swallowed or is currently swallowing the produce buying company, that's the PBC. And a consortium of 5 banks owed more than 257 million Ghana cedis by the state-owned produce buying company, the PBC, has reportedly begun seizing the company's trucks and operational vehicles after securing a court order. The development highlights the worsening financial crisis facing one of Ghana's oldest cocoa institutions and raises fresh concerns about the stability of the country's cocoa supply chain. Sources within the PBC say that the company is struggling with severe liquidity challenges and is currently unable to purchase cocoa from farmers due to lack of working capital. Reports also indicate the company owes farmers millions of cedis for cocoa already supplied. Efforts to hold an emergency meeting to discuss and address the debt situation reportedly collapsed after the Ministry of Finance failed to approve documentation required for the meeting. The latest development comes despite earlier government assurances that steps would be taken to revive the struggling company. Industry observers warn that the situation could further affect cocoa purchases, farmer payments, and confiscation and confidence in Ghana's cocoa sector. Thomas Ayisi, Deputy MD Finance, joins us once again. We spoke to him yesterday to get an idea of how dire the situation is, and he painted quite a grim picture and made a clarion call for financial support. Today we are hearing that more confiscations, or at least major confiscations, have begun. Let's try and get a better understanding of this. Mr. Ayisi, good evening once again. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Good evening, my brother Martin, and good evening to your listeners.
So we spoke yesterday, and you gave us a general idea of how the situation, the debt situation with PBC is, and what could be the best action forward. We are told, or today there is news making rounds that some of the banks that you owed have started confiscating your assets. Can you confirm this, and what are some of the items they are already taking away?
Oh, thank you, my brother. That's the truth. They confiscated some assets on the 30th of April. And yesterday, I think some others also came around trying to see if they could have some things to put their hands on and fetch for auctioning or whatever. So it looks as if the banks have not stopped yet. They are still bent on attacking every property they lay hands on belonging to PBC.
And how long has this been in place? I'm talking about your decision to engage the banks after they decided to go to court for default. How long has the negotiation with the banks been, for which reason they seem to probably run out of patience before taking some of these actions?
Oh, I think since the inception of this government, from the 7th of January, when we even assumed office in May, some negotiations, some boardroom talks had already begun before we even resumed duty as executive management in May. And that talks has been ongoing since then, except that nothing concrete has been agreed on, and that is what is causing the impatience of the banks to come and attach our. I think on the part of the bank, they believe we are only delaying. They are not even seeing anything concrete, and they can't wait until forever. Mm-hmm.
Right, but that would be a bit surprising, wouldn't it? Because these are people you have worked with, and you as in PBC, not you as in, Mr. EC. PBC has definitely worked with some of these institutions in time past. So how come the issue of indebtedness is not being resolved, through dialogue? They feel that because they have the clearance from the court, they can pick up your assets. Is it that talks and negotiations have broken down completely?
Yeah, from what we are seeing, that is how it looks. But we would have even thought the bank would still give us the opportunity to work, and in the coming season, with all the promises of PBC going to be giving guaranteed funding and others, so that we could have worked and pay off the debts in installments. But we also don't know the challenges these banks also face, as in their relationship with the regulator or whatsoever, hence their decision to come hard on PBC. But on our part, we would have wished that the banks would have at least given us some briefing space to be able to do the numbers and come out with a payment plan. But like I said yesterday, this debt has spanned since 2023, where negotiations started. And I think in the year 2024, the government of Ghana went in after they initiated paying processes and paid something small to the banks. But after that, nothing more has happened. So I think the bank just want to tell us that they can't wait any longer. That's why they are taking such decisions. And it's very worrying for the company.
Very worrying, even for us as a country. And two issues stand up for me. At this moment, when workers turn up to work at PBC, what exactly do they do? What are your current modes of operation? What do you do now that there isn't enough funding and even your assets are being seized? Are you still operating? And what exactly are these operations?
In fact, before the 30th of this April, where the banks came in, we were doing some small numbers in terms of purchasing cocoa. We did some purchases with some money from an off-taker around August, September, October. When the market started disturbing, the off-takers pulled out, and for about 3 months, we weren't working. But after some time, we engaged the farmers groups in Ghana, the Ghana National Cocoa Farmers Association. They realized that there were general liquidity in the system. But because of the confidence they had in PBC as a state-owned entity, they are free to give their cocoa to PBC on credit. So over the past, PBC was able to receive cocoa worth of about 26 million. I'm happy to tell you that through some arrangements by the current executive management, led by my MD, Asiedu-Dartey, we have been able to secure some facility to offset this credited cocoa. So beginning today, PBC is going to pay for all the stocks that we credited from farmers. Though we've not received the full funding for those stocks from Cocoa Board, arrangement has been done for farmers to get paid.
Two final questions, then you may take leave of us. So what role is Cocoa Board playing at the moment? And by extension, what kind of assistance are you getting from government at the moment? Although the bigger debt is still hanging, you've given indications that still there are operations in the background, work is being done to try and, get you back on, full throttle. But is Cocoa Board playing any key role, and is government doing so? Can you help us understand what roles they are playing at the moment?
Yes, the management of PBC has been in talks to Cocoa Board to ensure that all credited stocks PBC brings to CMC or to the port, Cocoa Board does well to pay PBC for those credited stocks. If farmers get the belief that if the cocoa comes even on credit to PBC, Cocoa Board is going to pay, farmers will be ready to give their stocks to PBC so that we'll be able to make the small margins that will make the company survive. In fact, farmers are interested in PBC surviving. They see PBC as the backbone of the industry, and the collapse of PBC would not be at their advantage. So the National Cocoa Farmers Association, led by their leadership, visited the offices of PBC, and they told PBC management they are very ready to assist PBC in every way. So if it is about crediting of stocks, they are ready to help PBC to run. So that assistance we will be needing from Cocoa Board is make sure that once PBC collects these stocks, they also pay promptly PBC so that PBC is also able to go back to the market and pay its farmers without delay.
Okay, at least there's some positivity there. And finally, before you take leave of us, what kind of impact is this having globally on our image as a cocoa producing country? What kind of conversations do you think are being had elsewhere around the world about the current challenges Ghana is facing when it comes to cocoa purchase and buying?
The image is not good. The image is not good. And the confidence in the sector keeps dwindling when issues of this sort erupts, especially when PBC, that is the main engine of the Ghanaian internal cocoa marketing system, is seen as going down, then the confidence in the Ghanaian cocoa sector keeps dwindling. And it's not a good sight to see and a good story to tell.
Well, the earlier the assistance comes, the better. And we are praying that government, hearing all of these issues, will be able to step up and assist PBC. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you, Martin.
And that is Deputy Managing Director in charge of finance at the PBC, Thomas. You see there, clearly there is a bigger challenge that we all need to assist or put our shoulders to the wheel. Why am I using we as a country? Because for several decades, at least the last 5 decades, one of our biggest support for an economy has been cocoa. And so if a pillar like this is struggling, and not just how much farmers are paid, but the value chain of purchase and selling, and how the entirety of the process needs to be done and done properly, then it means that we need to put our shoulders to the wheel together or collectively to ensure that we revive a struggling industry like cocoa. Well, your thoughts are also welcome, and I will be happy to let the world know what the situation is. Probably from your perspective, you have an angle or a suggestion you can also give to PBC and government and or Cocoa Board, where they can take it on board to help the revival of the produce buying company, which is a major component in the value chain of Ghana's cocoa sector. Do send us those messages on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll be happy to let the world know about it. This is 3FM 92.7. Stay with us. When we return, we'll be taking you to the Upper East region, where we are told that specifically the Mamprusi and Boku West districts, where we are told that a reasonable number of people have been displaced. In excess of 5,000 people have been displaced as a result of a rainstorm. Details of more of that when we return. Still listening to 3FM 92.7. This is Hot Edition. Let's take you to that story having to do with what NADMO is doing in terms of providing some assistance to a number of our compatriots in the Northeast and Upper East regions who've been displaced by heavy rainstorm. More than 1,500 people have been displaced following a devastating rainstorm that swept through parts of the Northeast and Upper East regions. The affected areas include the Mamprusi East Municipality in the Northeast region and the Boku West District in the Upper East region, where several schools, homes, school buildings and other public infrastructure have been destroyed. Initial assessment by the National Disaster Management Organization, NADMO, indicate that close to 1,000 residents across 5 communities in the Northeast region alone have been displaced. In the Nalerugu-Gambaga area, electricity poles were also brought down, leaving some communities without power and disrupting economic and social activities. 3FM News understands that officials of NADMO are working to provide temporary shelter and relief items to affected victims as efforts continue to assess the full extent of the destruction. Let's go to the phone lines now and speak to Alhaji Rafiu Tahiru, who is the Northeast Regional Director for NADMO. Alhaji, good evening. Thank you for joining us on 3FM.
Thank you so much, Martin. Good evening, and good evening to your listeners.
Right. We would want you to kindly hold on for us. Let's listen to some of the distress calls being made. And this one is coming from James Abogre, head teacher of Tanga Primary School, who is currently appealing for urgent support for a re-roof of the school, which has totally been devastated by the rains. And this is what he has been saying.
Seriously, it has actually affected teaching and learning because most of the students are not there because they came and saw this thing and then they left. So it has affected a lot. So we are pleading on the government to do something so that we will be able to get back to the class. Though we don't even have furniture in the classroom. As I'm talking, when we get to the place, you will look at it and see that each person came with his or her own furniture before they are sitting in the class there. So the government should just try as much as possible to come to our aid. And as you look behind there, that is the GSS block. It was given on contract on 2013, and up to now it's still hanging there. They should try to just complete that one too for us. Even if they can do this one for the meantime, they should do that one for us, and so that we'll be able to get a comfortable place to stay. Thank you very much for that. My name is James.
That is, you heard the voice of the headmaster of Tanga Primary School. Also, the district chief executive of Boko West, James Ayamwego, has also been speaking about how the situation is worrying and disheartening. Let's listen to him as well.
From the incident of the rainstorm, I must say that I am very sad. I'm sad because we have seen that most houses are affected, including schools, health facilities, and some churches. We saw about 3-4 churches being ripped off. And I think that as a district chief executive, certainly I'm not a happy person today because majority of my people are affected, and that cause for worry. I must say that from what we have seen, it is a very worrying situation, especially looking at the style of our roofing. Most of the houses are roofed in such a way that they are unable to withstand any serious rainstorm.
And so these two voices paint a picture for us to have an idea of how bad the situation is. And so, Alhaji Rafiu Tahiru, thank you for staying. So first of all, can you corroborate these reports of the devastation, the level of devastation? I'm sure you've gone around or you've heard reports. What assessment can you tell us?
Mr. Martin, yes, the Honorable Chief Executive and then the head teacher, whatever has been aired regarding the disaster, it is something that is also worrying to National Disaster Management Organization. I would say that we in the Northeast region, right from the last week of last month till today, we have been hit with serious rainstorm disaster. And day in, day out, our guys are out there doing assessment. I can say that the last week of April, we had the same disaster in West Mamprusi municipality, where it even affected, took away some lives, and then part of Walwali Secondary Technical School was also affected. This very week, it has left West Mamprusi, and we found ourselves in East Mamprusi, where hundreds of people have been displaced, properties running into millions of Ghana cedis destroyed. Schools have also been affected, and then it's going to affect teaching and learning. At NADMU, we are also working around the clock. What we usually do is, yes, first of all, we need to do what we call the rapid assessment, so that at first hand, we would be able to get the first hand information, and that will guide us onto the next line of action to take. With regard to the East Mamprusi Municipal Assembly disaster, we have gotten the District Disaster Management Committee activated, where we have the Ghana Education Service, we have the Ministry of Agric, we have all the stakeholders involved. And so with this kind of devastation, we are getting on board to sit down, look at what we can do, especially getting our children back to school. That is the most important thing that we are looking at. On the other hand, the displaced personalities that we are also looking at, you and I will agree that we practice extended family system up north here. And so the displaced people are, they are able to locate their families across the neighboring communities or nearby homes just to find shelter, whilst NADMU is working to bring back life or to put things to normalcy. And so that is what we are currently doing. We want to get the rapid assessment report ready, and then the Director General will be appropriately be briefed, and then the next action will be taken.
It seems like the situation is quite serious or quite dire, like from what you're saying and the two other voices we heard. But of the 1,500 people we are told are displaced, you say that some are being received by family members, friends, to at least give them some form of shelter. And NADMO is also working around the clock to provide similar shelter. Which areas are you looking at, and which areas are most affected by this?
Yes. So in terms of West Mamprusi, that one we are talking about communities like Periga, we are talking about communities like Logri. That of East Mamprusi, Namasim, Nalerugu, that is the regional capital, it's also affected. And so these are the communities that are seriously affected. And then we are looking at for getting a safe haven for these displaced people to live. It's not too much of a problem because it is easy to create a family relation, and they are comfortable living with the family relation rather than identifying a common place to put these displaced people. Ours is to identify where they are, what they do there, and any assistance that is coming from the organization, we easily fish them out, and then they are assisted.
What kind of assistance is NADMO looking for to aid your work?
Yes, so from the rapid assessment that has been carried out, we are looking at assistance in terms of roofing sheets, because majority of the homes are ripped off. Roofs have also been taken away. So we are looking at how we can assist these displaced people, get some roofing sheets, get their rooms re-roofed, and then they will return home to continue with life. We are looking at food stuff as well, because once they are displaced and they don't have any sort of income, all economic activities is at a halt. And so food relief is also what we are looking at. So from the rapid assessment that we have done, these are some of the relief that we have identified. And the positive result is that Director General is working around the clock to get us this support.
And before you leave us, we are told that the rains, we should be expecting more rains, or at least it is not over yet. So in the meantime, what are the plans of NADMO ahead of the rains?
Yes, that's why I earlier on told you we have our plans in place, and one of the important plans for NADMO in terms of disaster management is the Disaster Management Committee, activating it, where we have stakeholders coming together to discuss on matters that could affect us tomorrow, to be able to take decisions today in order to either reduce the impact of it tomorrow or completely eliminate it. And as I speak, the Regional Disaster Management Committee, which is led by the Honorable Regional Minister, is activated. The District Disaster Management Committee, that is also headed by the various MMDCEs, they have all been activated, and then we are looking at how to design and send information. Ours is to send information, serious campaign, let people understand the devastation, let people understand the effects of the heavy rains that are coming. And once this information gets to the ground, we will be able to minimize the impact of the disaster together.
All right. We wish you all the best and hope that the assistance you require come in good time as you work around the clock to save our compatriots. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you so much, Mr. Martin. I'm grateful.
Right, so we've been speaking to Alhaji Rafiu Tahiru, who is the Northeast Regional Director of NADMO, and helping us understand the current situation in the two regions that have been terribly affected by the current rainstorm which hit them the last few days. And we are told that more rains are expected, so it means a lot more effort is needed to ensure the safety of citizens in and around the Mamprusi East Municipality and the Boko West District, which is in the Upper East region. The Mamprusi East is in the Northeast region. So if you have any assistance, you can also contact NADMO, and then they will be happy to pick it up and make it available to those who are currently in distress. 92.7 is the station. You're listening to 3FM, and we are moving to some other stories now. Mildred Donko, the third prosecution witness in the alleged 49.1 million Ghana cedi cybersecurity defense software theft case involving former National Signals Bureau, the director Kwabena Edubuahin, and his wife Angela J. Boateng, has told the court that she had to seek therapy from the General Superintendent of the Assemblies of God Church, Reverend Stephen Wengam, after her ordeal with the Economic and Organized Crime Office. The former director of Advantage Solutions Company Limited, one of the companies of the accused person, is undergoing cross-examination by defense lawyers. There is more in this report from the court. Right, we'll bring that to you in a moment. But there are other big stories happening around the country. One of it having to do with the efforts of the National Security officers going around to ensure that the concerns of Galamsey are aptly addressed. So you would recall that in the last few years, the current administration and the previous administration have made efforts to try and address the concerns of the Galamsey fight. Well, some efforts have gone in. We are seeing results, but it doesn't look like we are out of the woods yet. In a moment, we'll try and get our reporter Christian Yali to update us on what exactly has been happening. But before we speak to Yali, we are told that the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat, known as NIMOS, has begun a major initiative aimed at giving new purpose to equipment seized from illegal mining activities, commonly known as Galamsey. In a significant move, the Secretariat has handed over 100 water pumps to the National Service Authority to support farming activities across the country. And many have actually said that that's a step in the right direction, where the seized items, those that are still usable, are actually put to proper use. Christian Yali has joined us on the line for an update on this. He's sat through or been following the conversation in the corridors of NIMOS. Christian, thank you for your time. Help us with the background to this story. We are told that the decision to hand over these machines is to assist the National Service Secretariat. That's it?
Exactly, Martin, because this is not the first time that NIMOS is undertaking such an activity. We know that in 2025, last year, November, over 230 of these water pumps were, handed over to the Food and Agric Ministry to more or less enhance regulated farming activities. Now, what government is seeking to do through the Lands Ministry and also through NIMOS is that those seized equipment like the excavators, the water pumps, and the rest of them would be repurposed for other beneficial use. And so part of it is to target agriculture, also because we know government is pushing for high investment into agric and into food security. So we can listen to the Director of Operations of NIMOS, Colonel Dominic Boa, make that point that it is of no use to leave these materials or resources go waste when they can be retrofitted or used for other beneficial purposes.
NIMOS has, over the past almost a year, been conducting operations to rid our water bodies and forests of these gadgets which were being used for unwanted activities or dangerous activities in the field by way of illegal mining. It's a directive of the Honorable Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, Honorable Amakofi Boa, that having removed these gadgets from the field, there is definitely a positive use for them. And that's what we call the repurposing. Yeah. And when we got a letter from your outfit, the National Service Scheme, authority, for pumping machines, we're excited because it is the Honorable Minister's vision that these machines should be repurposed to feed Ghana. And we read that you are going to use them for farming, which sits directly with that vision. So he gave the go-ahead straight away that we should present them to you. On behalf of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources and NIMOS, we wish to present these 100 water pumping machines to you for the purpose of farming to feed Ghana.
Right, Christian. So yes, we've just heard the director of NIMOS there, and why the National Service Authority? Why are they the ones who are the recipients of these water pumps?
Martin, so what we know is that National Service Authority has been embarking on this mechanized farming initiative, out of which we even know that there are some service personnel who are deployed to these farmlands dotted across some parts of the country. And so it is not out of place. Ordinarily, in earlier years, you would have reckoned that NSS personnel would have been in offices working, but now there are National Service personnel who are working in farmlands, especially those who read agriculture and related programs. And so this has been handed over to them. Many see this to be environmentally responsible. They also see it to be economically strategic then, because government wouldn't have to spend extra in procuring some of these items, but they can just get them from these seized equipment. So we can listen to the executive director of NSA, Ruth Asiedu, who is of the view that this will go a long way in helping to irrigate their farmland.
This year we intend to work on 20,000 acres of land for maize alone, and also 10,000 acres for tomato production. And so we all know that with these crops, water is very important. And looking at the distance between where the land is and then where the water body also is, it was imperative that we get as many as possible to support us in irrigation or for irrigation purposes. And so when the idea duly and well brought up by my able deputy director general in charge of operations, Colonel Moses Pengu, that why don't we get in touch with NIMOS, because NIMOS has quite a number of these seized equipment. I thought that it was a good idea, and we wrote to you, and lo and behold, I think that it's just about 2 weeks and you got back to us. We actually requested for 50, and NIMOS together with the ministry decided to give us 100.
So you can clearly tell that the National Service Authority boss is excited about this. Well, Christian Yali, thank you very much for that report, and he's following the story for us and has just updated us on what those water pumping machines seized by NIMOS on its many operations are being used for. One of it is to, they are donating it this time around, we are told, to the National Service Authority to help in the National Service farms, which is dotted across the country. Let's take a step back to one of our stories having to do with the just ended BECE. But this time around, we also know that we have the West African examination happening. That's the WASI, as many of us call it. And the 2026 West African Senior School Certificate Examination for school candidates begins tomorrow, with hundreds of thousands of final year students across Ghana expected to sit for the exam. This year's examination marks a major shift in the conduct of WASI in Ghana, as candidates will, for the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic, join their counterparts in Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Liberia, and the Gambia to write the examination under the regional timetable coordinated by the West African Examination Council, WAEC. Ghana had, over the past 5 years, conducted a Ghana-only version of the examination following disruptions caused by the pandemic. Authorities say that the country's return to the regional examination system is aimed at restoring full international coordination among member states of WAEC. Let's speak to the head of public affairs for WAEC, Mr. John Kapi, who's joined us for a quick chat. Mr. Kapi, good evening. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, and thanks for having me.
Can you help us understand the significance of, joining or reintegrating into the West African timetable, if we can put it that way?
Well, basically what it simply means is that we are now writing the examination at the same time as the other member countries of the WAEC are doing. In terms of content, in terms of structure, we're still maintaining the same thing as it was before we came back to join our partners.
Right, and if you compare it to what we used to do, especially because of the pandemic, and before the pandemic, we used to do the current system. We used to work with the current system we are reverting to now. What were some of the highlights, and do you think it is still feasible to do the West African, the entire pool writing at the same time, or every country should do their own thing?
Oh, well, at the time that we're writing alone, nothing had changed significantly. In fact, I would say nothing had changed because we followed the same procedure in order to maintain the international coloring of the examination. But then, of course, the fact that we are writing together also does not mean that we're writing the exact same questions across the countries. We have mechanisms to ensure that we maintain the standards, but then the countries may write different, questions, so that we are able to have that comparison and then be able to come up with the best candidates after the examinations. Right.
So how many students are participating in this year's WASI? WASI.
Okay, for Ghana, we have about 509,862 across the country, both for public schools and private schools.
Right. And the concern, we know that we just ended the BECE, still under WAEC, but what were the key learnings from BECE that may assist us in this year? The big bone of contention has always been that of exam malpractices. How are we addressing it going into this year's WASI?
Well, on our part, we've tried to do a lot of education. We have gone beyond just the teachers and the examination candidates, and we've included every, sector of our lives. We have spoken to chiefs, we've spoken to politicians, we've spoken to parents, guardians, and then also the security agencies, because it's come very clear that we would need a concerted effort to fight this menace of examination malpractice. So if you look at whatever we had this year, a lot of the arrests that we effected were as a result of the activities of whistleblowers, people who had listened to us in our stakeholder engagements, people who had, listened to us about the effects of examination malpractice, decided to provide for us information, and based on that, we were able to pick up a number of people who were engaged in the act. We have also realized that a lot of the people who were doing these things were teachers, and so we are going to seek the assistance of the Ghana Education Service to bring all of them to book, and then probably to come out with maybe some more stringent punishments so as to deter others who may want to do that going into the future.
All right, Mr. Kapi, thank you very much, and we wish you all the best as you help our wards tomorrow as they begin this examination journey.
Thank you very much.
And John Kapi is the Head of Public Affairs at the West Africa Examination Council. This is still 3FM 92.7. We are live around the world on 3news.com and also on YouTube and Facebook. And so we are shifting our attention from education this time around. Let's do health-related matters. And a number of nurses have been speaking about the recent development, which was what led to Charles Emisa's death. Now, the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association has expressed deep sorrow over what it describes as growing public attempts to paint nurses and midwives in a bad light following the death of Ghanaian citizen Charles Emisa. According to the association, the accusations leveled against some nurses in connection with the incident are unfair and emotionally damaging. The association says instead of blaming healthcare workers, government must urgently address the long-standing challenge confronting the country's health sector. President of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, Perpetual Oforiampofo, says it is heartbreaking to see nurses and midwives being portrayed negatively because of isolated incidents.
Today, our practice is marked by many challenges, some of which have persisted over time. Recently, we have been in the news, and in most cases, the narration has been skewed to paint us black. The recent public story or public outcry over the death of Mr. Charles Emisa and the lashing out at health professionals following the release of the Ministerial Investigative Committee leaves much to be desired. Let me say this: no health worker prepares to go on a shift to cause harm to a fellow human being. I said, no health worker prepares to go on any shift to intentionally cause harm to a fellow human being. A health worker is merely the product of the system in which he or she operates. As a nation, we must fix our health system. Let's fix our National Ambulance Service and emergency services. Let's fix the staff shortages and address the increasing workload on our nurses and midwives in our facilities. Let's fix the inadequate tools, supplies, and equipment. Just last night, we lost a community health nurse who was on a motorbike, went to a health center just to take supplies and go back to her church compound. As a Muslim, this morning she's been buried. She was on her own motorbike, a motorbike she purchased with her own money to serve the nation.
And you heard Perpetual Oforiampofo, who is the president of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association. Meanwhile, the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Samuel Kaba Akoiria, has acknowledged the need to fix systemic problems within the health sector. However, he has also urged health professionals across the country to uphold quality primary health care delivery to prevent avoidable deaths.
As the Director General, and I feel so sad that every day you see somebody's name on TV is asking for 1 Ghana cedi, 2 Ghana cedis, because he needs to fix his health. He needs to travel outside the country for surgery. As a policymaker, as a director, that saddens me. Because you and I, let's think about this. Those people that ask for that 1 Ghana cedi and they put their pictures on TV, it doesn't mean they don't have dignity. And it doesn't mean they don't have respect. It's just the situation of the health system that compels them to request for that. And at that time, they don't say MPP contribute, NDC contribute. They are just saying, Ghanaians, help us to get my life back. There is even one nurse I see on the platforms for kidney transplant. I hope you've seen it. She's not interested whether it is MPP person who is giving her the 1 cedi or his CPP or his NDC. What she's interested and her family is interested is that she needs to fix her health. And I'm dragging you to the reason why I decided to actually be here, which is the policy of the free primary health care, which I say is a policy of restoring the dignity of every Ghanaian.
And that's the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Samuel Kaba Akoriya. And clearly the conversation, the argument some will make is that it looks as though the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association is missing the point about Charles Emisa's death. I am not sure that the general accusation is against nurses and doctors or medical professionals in general. It is against the specific ones who failed to undertake the most basic of their profession, which is to stabilize anyone who is confronting a major life-threatening situation like Charles Emisa. That he is brought to the hospital and nobody had the presence of mind to attend to at least stabilize him, and not necessarily give him a bed, but stabilize him until he goes on to his next journey to another hospital, is what we are talking about. So it is not that people are generally attacking nurses and medical professionals. It is the lack of attention that these few ones who are giving the medical profession a bad name are being targeted and accused for. So maybe the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association may have to review this public call. Nobody's attacking doctors and nurses. We need them very much. But the few who fail to pay attention to Charles Emisa are the ones that we're asking that the right thing be done or the law takes its course against them. This is 3FM 92.7. Time now for the latest in the world of sports. Stay with us.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on Hot Edition with me, Oreku Ampofo. We begin with our first story where minority leader Alexander Afenyomarkin believes the Black Stars can surpass expectations ahead of the 2026 World Cup if they are well motivated. Ghana are in Group L alongside Panama, England, and Croatia.
The incentives that are supposed to be in place must be in place. I'm looking forward to hear what the sports minister has to say as Parliament resumes, because definitely it needs to brief Parliament on the measures they put in place to enable the team do better. I mean, Ghana has a great potential when it comes to football. We know what we did in South Africa, where we crossed the 1/16 stage, and we're almost there. But for the penalty shootout by Mr. Asamoah, we were going to get into the quarterfinals. And
South Africa,
South Africa 2010. We all watch. Has it that when a Ghanaian team is properly composed and well motivated, they go beyond expectation. So I wish them well. Many identify Ghana with football. It's not the politics. Then football also brings us together. So I look forward to.
That was minority leader Alexander Afenyomarkin speaking on the Black Stars ahead of the World Cup. However, let's switch over to some athletics where the University of Ghana Sports Stadium is where everything is happening as The African Senior Athletics Championships is currently taking place. We saw the opening ceremony take place on Monday, and today is day one of the event. There's a lot of Ghanaian interest. Bill Shen is at the stadium currently. Bill, what's the update? We've seen a lot of Ghanaian athletes compete. How is it looking like for the country?
Yes, we have indeed seen a lot of Ghanaian athletes compete. David, the good news is that in the 100 meters, we've seen Edwin Gadai, we've seen Abdurrahim Kaminu, and then Joseph Olamo actually advanced to the next stage of the competition. There's also Asiedu Mahmoud Baba, who also performed well earlier in the day. But there were some disappointments in there. Some like Pressure and Kroma, who competed in the 400 meters. Now, she narrowly missed out. There was Aisha Tijafa, who also struggled. Leticia Anyway also struggled. And then just a moment ago, we just saw a blessed junior who should actually compete in the 400 meter at 5, and it looks like he's really gone through it. And it was quite tight, but it seems he struggled to crack that first two. But I think overall there were some positives with Ghana's performance so far, and hopefully in that 100 meter semi-final, which will be taking place later this evening, we could see all three of our contingents actually make the final, because that is where a lot of focus has been for the Ghanaian fans that have actually appeared here at the University of Ghana Stadium.
Well, thank you very much, Bill. And there's also been an issue about the attendance. Is it improving? And does it look like as the day is going on into the night, people are trooping into the stadium?
Yes, on an honest take, the attendance is not as encouraging as you would expect. A lot of empty seats here at the University of Ghana Stadium. I must say, it's only the VIP side that I can comfortably state that it is full. A lot of the people have come or covered the VIP side. But when it comes to the main stands, the popular stands, there are so many empty seats. You can literally walk around those stands very comfortably. And that is not something that some people will be pleased about. Of course, we've talked about the need to support the athletes, to show our might and then push them to victory. So far, in day one, it's not really encouraging. Maybe day two, we could see some progress in there.
All right, thank you very much, Billy Shan. He's our reporter on the ground for the African Senior Championships. That's the athletics event that's being hosted in Ghana from Tuesday up until Sunday. And so if you do have some spare time, you can pass by the University of Ghana Sports Stadium at 9 a.m. For the morning session, and then at 3 p.m. for the day/night session. My name is Oreku Ampofo, and that's all that time would allow us for here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. We'll be concluded now, and you can get some more on our social media handles at 3 Sports GH. It's bye for now. See you same time tomorrow.
Still listening to 3FM 92.7. And just before we take leave of you, we have news just coming in from the office of the Minister for Foreign Affairs, and that is Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who has just posted on social media that his, and I'm quoting exactly what he has posted. He says, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama has granted presidential approval for the immediate evacuation of 300 Ghanaians in South Africa. These distressed Ghanaians had earlier complied with the Foreign Ministry's advisory and registered with our High Commission in Pretoria to be rescued following the latest wave of xenophobic attacks. The government of Ghana shall continue to safeguard the welfare of all Ghanaians home and abroad. So that's by way of information that some 300 Ghanaians living in South Africa are to be evacuated back to the country as a result of the xenophobic attacks, which has been ongoing for some time now. So it's a step in the right direction because we do not leave any of our own behind. So that's the news we have from the offices of the Foreign Affairs Minister. And this is just also by way of information for you that secure scholarship in UK with the help of BCIE. Are you dreaming of studying in the UK with a scholarship? Here's what you need to know, and here is a good chance for you. Join the BCIE, which is the British Canadian International Education Limited, on the 16th of May, which is just about 4 days from now, the 16th of May, at the BCIE office located on the Osu Oxford Street behind the SNIT Hospital for an exclusive secure scholarship in the UK event. Meet representatives and explore scholarship opportunities from leading UK universities, including Durham University, University of Dundee, Brunel University of London, University of East London, University of Sunderland, and the University of Lincoln. Get expert guidance on admissions, scholarships, visa processing, and your pathway to international education. It is happening on the 16th of May at 10 in the morning, and the venue is the BCIE office at the Osu Oxford Street, on the Osu Oxford Street behind the SNIT Hospital. If you want to call them to at least get further information, you can reach them on 054 012 4745 or 054 012 6285. Let me take the numbers again. 054 012 4745 or 054 012 6285. Seats are limited, so don't miss this opportunity to secure your future in the UK. And on the back of that, we'll bring the bulletin to an end. Thank you very much for listening. I am Martin Asiedu-Dartey.